In the heart of a serene Nigerian village called Umuara, where ancient Iroko trees stood like silent guardians and the gentle flow of the nearby river carried the songs of ancestors, there once lived a woman of extraordinary kindness named Izane. She was the kind of soul the villagers spoke of in hushed, reverent tones, always ready with a warm meal for a hungry traveler, a healing herb for the ailing child, or a comforting word for the grieving widow. Her laughter echoed through the compound like morning birdsong, and her wisdom seemed drawn from the very earth itself. Izane had one precious treasure, her daughter, Adaira. From the moment Adaira drew her first breath, Izane poured every ounce of her love into the girl. She braided Adaira's hair with care, teaching her the intricate patterns passed down through generations. She showed her how to grind spices just right so the aroma filled the air like a blessing. She whispered stories of brave women who faced trials with unyielding grace. "My child," Izane would say as they sat under the moonlight, "the world may test you with fire, but remember, love is the water that quenches every flame. And even if the body fades, a mother's love remains eternal, watching, waiting, ready to rise when needed." Tragedy struck without warning, as it often does in these lands. A fierce fever gripped Izane one rainy season. The village healer tried every remedy, roots from the sacred grove, prayers chanted at dawn, but the illness was relentless. As Izane lay on her mat, growing weaker by the hour, she called Adaira close. The little girl, no more than 10 years old, clutched her mother's hand, tears streaming down her cheeks. Izane's voice was faint but steady. "Adaira, listen well. When darkness surrounds you, when cruelty seeks to break you, speak my name 3 times under the stars. I will hear. I will come. My spirit will shield you as long as the river flows and the palms sway." With those final words, Izane closed her eyes, and her breath slipped away like mist at sunrise. The village mourned deeply, songs of sorrow filled the air for days. Adaira's father, Okonkwo, a hard-working farmer with calloused hands and a broken heart, tried to hold the family together. But loneliness gnawed at him. After 2 years, he remarried a woman from a neighboring village named Chioma. Chioma arrived with her daughter, Ngozi, a girl of similar age to Adaira but raised in indulgence and sharp words. At first, Chioma smiled sweetly, helping with chores and speaking kindly. But the mask soon slipped. Jealousy took root in Chioma's heart the moment she saw how the villagers still spoke Adaira's name with affection, how they remembered Izane through her daughter's gentle ways. Adaira was beautiful, with skin like polished ebony, eyes bright with intelligence, and hands skilled at weaving intricate patterns into cloth that fetched good prices at the market. Chioma feared that Adaira would outshine Ngozi, drawing suitors, admiration, and perhaps even a better future. So she began her campaign of cruelty slowly, like poison dropped into a well. Adaira was banished to the smallest hut at the edge of the compound. She rose before the first cock crowed to fetch water from the distant stream, her bare feet cutting on sharp stones. She pounded yam until her shoulders ached, scrubbed pots until her fingers cracked and bled, and tended the fire while Ngozi slept on soft mats inside the main house. Chioma withheld food as punishment for imagined slights. "Lazy child, you eat only what you earn," forcing Adaira to survive on scraps gathered from the yard. Rumors spread at Chioma's urging. Adaira carried a curse from her mother's untimely death. She brought misfortune to the household. Neighbors who once offered Adaira extra portions now averted their eyes, afraid of Chioma's venomous tongue. Through it all, Adaira never complained aloud. She worked in silence, her tears falling secretly into the cooking pot or the river she fetched from each dawn. At night, when the compound slept, she would slip outside, kneel by the small mound where her mother rested under a flowering frangipani tree, and whisper, "Mama Izane, Mama Izane, Mama Izane." Sometimes she felt a faint warmth on the breeze, a scent of herbs her mother loved, but no more. She held onto the promise, clinging to it like a lifeline. Chioma's hatred deepened with time. She watched Adaira grow taller, more graceful, her spirit unbroken despite the hardships. The girl still smiled at children in the village, shared what little she had, and her weaving brought quiet praise. Chioma could not bear it. One evening, as thunder rumbled in the distance, she visited a reclusive herbalist known for dark dealings. She paid dearly for a bundle of deadly leaves that could stop a heart in minutes. That night, she prepared a large pot of rich vegetable soup laced with the poison, intending it for Adaira alone. "Eat this," she commanded, shoving the bowl toward the girl while Ngozi watched with wide, fearful eyes. "You've worked hard today. You deserve it." Adaira, exhausted and trusting no evil from her own home, lifted the spoon. The first drop touched her lips and the world shifted. A sudden, unnatural cold swept through the hut, extinguishing candles and dimming the fire to glowing embers. The air grew thick, charged with something ancient and powerful. From the shadowed corner emerged a soft, luminous glow. It swirled like smoke caught in moonlight, gradually forming the unmistakable figure of Izane. Her wrapper shimmered with ethereal light, the same blue and gold pattern she wore in life. Her face held the same gentle expression, but her eyes burned with righteous fury. Chioma dropped the ladle, stumbling backward. Ngozi gasped and hid behind a stool. Adaira stared, heart pounding, as tears of joy and disbelief filled her eyes. "You dared," Izane's voice rang out, not loud, but resonant, echoing from every corner of the room and beyond, as if the ancestors themselves spoke through her. "You dared to raise your hand against my blood to poison the child I carried in my womb, the child I loved more than life itself. A mother's love does not perish with flesh and bone. It endures. It protects. It avenges." The poison in Adaira's mouth dissolved into nothingness, leaving only the taste of sweet herbs, her mother's favorite blend. An invisible force held Chioma in place as she tried to flee, her legs refused to move. Izane glided closer. "You sowed hatred, envy, and cruelty. Now reap what you planted." The soup in the pot bubbled violently, turning an inky black. Tendrils of dark smoke rose, coiling around Chioma like serpents. She clawed at her throat, gasping as the very poison she brewed surged through her body. Pain contorted her face, she collapsed, writhing on the dirt floor. Ngozi, screaming in terror, bolted from the hut and vanished into the night, never seen in Umuara again. Izane turned to Adaira, her form softening. She reached out a translucent hand and brushed away the girl's tears. Warmth spread through Adaira like sunlight after rain. "My beloved daughter," Izane whispered, her voice now tender as a lullaby. "You endured with grace and patience. Your heart remained pure. Live now freely, joyfully. Know that I am always near. In the rustle of leaves, in the warmth of the sun, in the love you give others. Call me, and I will answer." With a final, loving smile, Izane's light faded gently, leaving behind the faint fragrance of frangipani blossoms and a profound peace in the air. Dawn broke with birdsong. The village stirred to find Chioma collapsed near death, delirious and confessing her crimes in broken whispers. The elders gathered, heard the tale from trembling witnesses, and marveled at the miracle. Adaira was embraced by compassionate neighbors who had long suspected Chioma's wickedness but feared to speak. An elderly couple with no children of their own took her in, treating her as their own flesh. Adaira blossomed. Her weaving became renowned far beyond Umuara, Suitors came from distant villages, drawn by her beauty, kindness, and quiet strength. She married a humble, honorable man who cherished her deeply. Together they raised children who grew up hearing tales of their grandmother Izane, the mother whose love conquered even death. In quiet evenings, when the wind whispered through the palms and the river sang its eternal song, Adaira would sit by her mother's grave, now adorned with fresh flowers. She would smile softly and murmur, "Thank you, Mama. You kept your promise. You never left me." And somewhere beyond the veil, Izane watched, her spirit at peace, knowing her daughter carried forward the legacy of unbreakable love. Moral of the story: a mother's love is a force more powerful than any curse, any poison, any cruelty. It transcends time, death, and the grave. It protects the innocent, punishes the wicked, and ensures that goodness, in the end, always prevails. Treat others with kindness, honor family bonds, and remember, what you sow in this life returns sometimes in this world, sometimes from beyond.